I'm Trevor McPherson, the President and CEO here at the Mississauga Board of Trade. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you today to this morning's discussion with the Honourable Rechie Valdez, Minister of Small Business. Before we get into things, I would like to acknowledge that we're gathered here today on the treaty lands and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Windot, and Huron people. We also acknowledge the many First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and other global Indigenous peoples who call Mississauga home, and we're grateful for the opportunity to live and work here in this territory. And I should say, too, that I recently did meet the new chief of the Mississaugas of the Credit, and we both intend on forming a strong relationship to work with each other and do some things beyond these land acknowledgements, right? That's the important piece there. And we're obviously very delighted to have the minister here with us today, and I would also like to sincerely acknowledge and thank our presenting partner, Sheridan College, supporting us today, and many from Sheridan are here. Please take the opportunity to meet with them while you're here and get a glimpse into all the amazing things that are happening, including The Edge, which is their entrepreneurship incubator, and was recently supported with some additional dollars from the federal government, from FedDev, I believe. So with that, I'd also like to acknowledge a few folks with us here today, including Peter Fonseca, MP, Mississauga East Cooksville. Peter, thank you for joining us. Ward 11 Councillor Brad Butt. Ward 2 Councillor Alvin Chejo. Steve Rowan, our immediate past chair and president and CEO of Weston Forest Products. Representing Sheridan College, and our sponsor today is Norman Kahn, and we see Norman at so many events, and thank you so much for your personal support as always. I'd like to also acknowledge that we do have members of our board, in addition to Steve here. If you could just stand quickly and be acknowledged. Thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to welcome our past chair, Steve Rowan, President CEO of Weston Forest, to officially introduce the minister. Steve.
Great, thank you, Trevor, and good morning, everyone. The Honourable Rechie Valdez was elected as Member of Parliament for Mississauga-Streetsville in 2021. She has been a member of various parliamentary committees and associations, including the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs and the Canadian NATO Parliamentary Association, as well as the chair of the Canada-Philippines Parliamentary Friendship Group. Minister Valdez is a Canadian entrepreneur, television personality, and community advocate. She is the first Filipino-Canadian woman elected as a Member of Parliament and appointed to Cabinet, and is committed to ensuring the diverse voices of her community are heard. Before entering politics, Minister Valdez owned and operated a small business and dedicated herself to growing her online business avenues. She was also the host of a television show that shares the stories of entrepreneurs, creators, and artists. Prior to that, she worked in corporate banking for 15 years, where she developed her expertise in change management and strategic initiatives. A sports enthusiast, Minister Valdez has used her love for basketball to raise funds for children's charities. She has made numerous media appearances, was a public speaker, and is a mentor dedicated to the empowerment of women, girls, youth, and diverse and marginalized groups. Please join me in welcoming the Honourable Rechie Valdez.
Good morning, everyone. It's truly an honor to be here with all of you, especially the fact that you all trooped out in the middle of winter to come here this morning. I just want to say thank you so much for that kind introduction, Steve. To MBOT, I want to ask you to kindly give them a round of applause, to the entire MBOT team who continually create events like this to bring us together and have dialogue and conversation. Let's give them a round of applause. Trevor and Steve. And also I'd like to acknowledge Sheridan College for sponsoring, and a shout out to Sheridan Edge and the amazing entrepreneurs and all of them, all the efforts that they do for the community. I know you've already heard my bio, and which is, when I think back to my journey over so many years, I'll share a little bit more just so that all of you can get to know me a little bit more as well. So my parents are from the Philippines. I was just explaining this morning, my mom is from a little city called Bataan, and my dad is from a little city called Batangas in the Philippines. They met in the Philippines and moved to a city called Kitwe, Zambia in Africa, where I was born. And so from immigrating to Africa for the first time, they didn't think that was enough to give a life for their children. They thought, you know what, let's move again to another continent. And they made their way here in Canada in the middle of a snowstorm just like this in 1989. And really it's my dad an engineer and my mom a nurse. It's their hard work and dedication and a ton of sacrifice, which is the reason why my brother and I have a Canadian education and all the opportunities that this country provides. And so the reason why I'm in front of all of you here is really because of them. So I've been on this incredible journey since becoming minister 5 months ago, been traveling the country and meeting many, many small businesses directly from the most rural parts of this country to the most urban and suburban parts of our country. And every time I meet these entrepreneurs, it reminds me of my own journey. And so earlier you heard that I owned and operated a bakery, but it didn't happen automatically. I did 15 years of corporate banking and I thought that was it for my life. I thought I had arrived, so to speak. But when my daughter turned 1, I made her first birthday cake. I thought, why not? Little did I know that birthday cake would become a catalyst to discover something I didn't even know existed inside of me, which was my creative passion. And this creative passion is a thing that fueled me every single morning to wake up after working full time and putting the kids to bed and taking them to all their activities. It was the thing that made me say, what can I build with my own 2 hands? And baking happened to be the conduit to be able to do that. It allowed me to express myself. It allowed me to self-discover. It allowed me to make my customers very happy when I delivered trays and trays of cakes and baked goods to them. But more importantly, I discovered a hustle that is so real that only entrepreneurs in this country know the sacrifice to figure out, how do I make this happen? Where do I get the money? How do I get the support? And along the way, I think most of it, I'd have to really give a shout out to my family, because I didn't know that I had resources. I didn't know that I had different options available to me. So my family was the thing. My brother was helping me package things in the middle of the night to deliver. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because the journey that I experienced to try and figure out how to build my business is the thing that I get to support each and every day. And it is a privilege and an honor for me to be able to do that. And so these conversations are great because we get, through your feedback and through this dialogue that we have, you get to help me build policy that can better help support entrepreneurs and the dreams that I had and the dreams that many entrepreneurs in this country have. And I'm very much connected to that. So I just wanted to share a little bit about myself and really the entrepreneurs in this country inspire me every day. The innovation that these entrepreneurs have, the stories and the journeys are what makes me wake up every day and to keep on going for them. With that being said, I just want to say that, you'll hear a little bit more. I just wanted to come here, and I think these opportunities are great because I get to communicate the various supports that we have available to entrepreneurs and convey that to all of you. So my number one rule, I think, ever since coming into this role is a communicator, and hopefully I will be able to do just that. So thank you all for taking the time from your busy schedules on an early morning to be here today. Thank you so much.
Clearly very passionate about the role, and the context is important too, so thank you for sharing that with us. We'll start with an overall question of, you've been in the role for, 5 months, you say. What are your priorities to support small business right now as Minister of Small Business?
Sure, I started talking about the challenges, I started to talk about my own journey, and I can tell you that, I know what it's like with the challenges that we're experiencing today, and I think even over time, because I started an entrepreneurial journey maybe in 2016, but the times have changed, and there's challenges that entrepreneurs experience today that I maybe never experienced before, and then we all went through a pandemic. So on top of that, many entrepreneurs have to thrive and survive and dig deep to get through such a difficult time that we all experience. So the challenges that we have today are very different than even what I experienced. And so what I'm trying to do really is to help entrepreneurs overcome some of those challenges that they have. So a big priority of mine is making sure that I'm advocating for the different needs that small businesses have today. And also from, again, I mentioned across many different places in Canada. Here in Toronto, I have to say we have many different ecosystems that exist, but in the rural parts of Canada, they don't have what we have here in the GTA. So my mind is always thinking about, broadly speaking, how do we support entrepreneurs? So for priorities, it's continuing to listen to entrepreneurs, to engage with entrepreneurs directly, and then take that back and see how we can form policy and help support the entrepreneurs on the ground. A big priority of mine also is, this is not a secret, but it's very challenging keeping businesses in Canada. And so really our goal is to keep those innovative ideas here, which will ultimately create jobs here and help our economy at the end of the day. So it's keeping Canadian jobs here, keeping entrepreneurs here, keeping their the innovative ideas here. That's a huge focus of mine as well. So again, my priority is really to communicate and convey different initiatives, programs, services that our government is providing today, but also that continual journey of how do we continue to make it better for entrepreneurs, and knowing that it is a very challenging time right now.
Great, and from what you've observed, just as a follow-up, what's the best way to keep those companies here?
Well, some of the things that we are doing to help encourage companies to stay in Canada, maybe I'll give you a few examples. I'll start with something that I'm very proud of that we do, which is our government focuses on inclusive entrepreneurship, making sure that we're including everybody, particularly underrepresented groups that never had support in the past. So in 2018, we developed the very first women entrepreneurship strategy. I can't believe I'm saying this. We have a women entrepreneurship strategy. $7 billion of investment since 2018. We've helped over 26,400 women entrepreneurs. You've heard my story, that's just one. But the fact that we get to continue to help advocate for women entrepreneurs, help support the ecosystems that that they're in, wherever they are across the country, and continue to support them. That's just something.
Right, and on that point, I did note late last year you attended the opening of the Toronto Stock Exchange, I believe, with your colleague, the Honourable Marcy Yan. Am I saying that correctly? You announced additional investments to support women entrepreneurs. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. There's two things about this day that was really important. So every MP has an opportunity to put forward a private members bill. So back in 2022, I put forward a private members bill, which was to designate November 11 as National Women's Entrepreneurship Day. And so, although becoming minister, I wasn't able to pass that bill, but nonetheless, we got to ring the bell for the first time in downtown Toronto and open the Toronto Stock Exchange to honor and celebrate National Entrepreneurship Day, Women's Entrepreneurship Day. And second, on that day, I was able to make an announcement, which was $3.8 million towards the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. So when you think about our strategy, there's three pillars. All entrepreneurs need capital, so you need funding, whether that's loans or otherwise. That's one portion of the pillar. The second one is around investing in the ecosystem. Today, sometimes we have money. Sometimes we need help knowing what do we do with that. how do you build a business plan? How to make it better? So we also fund the ecosystem that supports entrepreneurs. And so the Knowledge Hub is the third pillar, which we added on top of investment. This is, since 2018, how do we gather data? And data, in my opinion, I think there's many people here who understand the power of that data, to understand what women entrepreneurs, what they need out there, how do we continue to build the networks across the country, how do we share best practices, but more importantly, how do we share the stories so that more entrepreneurs, and in this case women, can learn from each other and be inspired to be able to advocate and do more for themselves.
That's great, and I know that in the past number of months, I've had an opportunity to meet with one such entrepreneur, Joanna Griffiths from Nix, and I remember her telling me years ago, this was just when she was starting out, how difficult it was to access financing as a female entrepreneur, as a small business owner, etc. So very much those comments do resonate. I want to touch on something, and some of you may have noticed a small elephant in the room as you walked in, and that is, of course, the CEBA loan repayment issue, which I understand a couple of days from now is the date that the government has asked those with the CEBA, Canada Emergency Business Account loan, to fulfill their obligation and repay it, or have sought alternative financing to carry them through to a later date. Despite that, we do have a number of small business members, of course, that have expressed their deep concern, frustration, and it's not all of them. We understand that. Particular sectors are harder hit, hospitality, etc. And just wondering how you're reacting and what your response is still, and we talked about this in Calgary a few months ago, to this issue, and whether there would be any support either through extension or through offsets for companies that are really struggling with that payment deadline.
Sure, I can talk about CEBA first, and then I will talk about some of the other supports afterwards.
Sure.
So for CEBA loans, during the pandemic, when everything shut down, we had a choice. We could let all small businesses close. That was not an option. CEBA loans was there to help during an emergency to get through the difficult time. And so we put out the CEBA loans to help support entrepreneurs. Since that time, entrepreneurs were able to get 3 months of interest-free loans, so there was no interest during that time. The original deadline for the CEBA loans was December 31st, 2022. Small business had requested for that extension. We had done so, so the extension went from December 31st, 2022 to just last month, December 31st, 2023. That date could have also been final, and the deadline could have been absolute. But because of the advocacy and what we were hearing from small businesses needed more options, needed more time, needed more flexibility. And so the date that's coming up, that is not when the entirety of the loan is due. So small businesses today have 3 options. So January 18th, in a few days, if you're able to pay back the $40,000, it is a deadline so that you can also take advantage of the forgivable portion of the $20,000 sets of the loan. But some businesses, particularly the ones you mentioned, may not be in a position to be able to pay back their loans by January 18th. So they can seek refinancing from a financial institution, and they can do so as long as they submit the application by January 18th. They have until March 28th to also still access the up to $20,000 of forgiveness. So as long as you're able to make that arrangement, you can also get the forgivable portion. But if in a situation where you're not able to pay back even with refinancing, the loan will automatically convert into a 3-year 5% low interest rate. And that is not due until December 31st, 2026. I recognize things are difficult, but we've provided some flexible options to give more time and more options for small businesses as opposed to December 31st, 2023.
Great, thank you very much. And you're referring to additional supports as well with regard to CEBA loan. Is this what you were talking about, the flexible repayment terms?
There is more. So for those of you that missed the announcement a few months ago, I think it was 2 months ago now, we have secured agreements with both Visa and MasterCard. So today, if you're a small business and you're tapping, those interchange fees that small businesses typically pay for will be reduced by fall of this year by up to 27%. So let's just say you're a small business today, you're spending $4,000 and say interchange fees to those credit card companies, you will be getting back just over $1,000 in savings. And through this change, we're looking to save $1 billion over 5 years just on interchange fees alone for small businesses. So that is also money going back to small businesses, and that's just one way that we're continuing to try to face with the difficult challenges that small businesses have today.
Great, absolutely, and I know that we've all visited merchants where they may not have the full-fledged Interact capabilities, and I think that's part of the reason is that they're looking to avoid some of these fees. So congratulations on that successful effort. In an era where cyber threats are increasingly prevalent, what initiatives are in place to help small businesses enhance their cybersecurity measures? Such an important issue, and it's just only growing in its negative impact on business and the economy.
Let me just so if I go back to the pandemic, a lot of us, typically would go to a small business, retail store, or what have you. But a lot of businesses coming out of the pandemic have had to pivot because either they had to, optimize their business, they had to build their presence online because when things shut down, they still needed to continue to sell. So coming out of the pandemic, one of the initiatives we created was the Canada Digital Adoption Program. Through this program, there are 2 streams within it to help small businesses digitize, because we recognize you have to be able to build presence online and gain more more viewership or more accessibility to your brand online. So with the 2 streams, the first one is called Grow Your Business Online. That's a $2,400 grant that will help businesses update their website, build their marketing presence. That's one half. And then the second one is Boost Your Business Online. And this, with the Canada Digital Adoption Program, will help work with your small business to help build a plan. And that's about $50,000 that we will cover. And then once your plan is developed, you can apply for a loan. So our BDC reps are here. They can apply for a loan that's zero interest, $100,000 to help implement the loan for you, and will also provide you with a student to help you, support you in that transition, and that includes cybersecurity supports that you may need.
That's great, and I know we have vendors in the room that are working with companies on their CDAP plans, and I think it's now a question of moving from the plan that was created to actually implementation and encouraging them to take advantage of that BDC support that is available. So that's great. What about youth and their entrepreneurship dreams and supporting their efforts? Because what are we, 98% of businesses, all businesses in Canada are small. I don't see that changing in any huge way going forward. How do we support right from the get-go, right from those early years, or even sometimes late secondary school, but certainly through post-secondary? How do we support with programs like The Edge, but how do we coordinate it all to really have a real impact on youth entrepreneurship?
I started my entrepreneurial journey in my mid-30s. I probably because of my age now. But so when I think about what happened when I started my journey, I was working full-time already. I had 2 kids. So one of the things I think about is like, what if I started earlier? Where would my business be? And I think empowering the next generation of entrepreneurs is very important. My parents were like, Rechie, you've got 2 options in life. You're either going to be an engineer or nurse, pick one. They did not get that. But I think it's really advocating and really showing entrepreneurs that entrepreneurship is a viable option for you to adventure in. And I think about the young entrepreneurs who have innovative ideas, it's really supporting them. And so what we do is we fund organizations like Futurepreneur who've done a fantastic job. We've funded them for 20 years now, and they support entrepreneurs aged 18 to 39. So if you're within that age group, they support your entrepreneurial adventure by providing supports, coaching, mentoring to get you on your way. And there's some incredible stories of entrepreneurs and individuals that I have helped who are able to benefit from that funding. And it's really, again, taking those ideas, but keeping them in Canada, but more importantly, empowering our youth to be able to see entrepreneurship as a viable option.
That's great. And once those businesses are growing and flourishing and ideally generating a profit, then these young business owners discover that there's something called tax. And I'm wondering if this government has considered any revisions to current small business tax policy that would encourage more entrepreneurship, more growth, and as you mentioned earlier, keeping those businesses here in Canada.
For small businesses, we have lowered taxes for small businesses from 11% to 9%. So I think right off the bat, it was important to be able to support entrepreneurs there. But as far as the different financing programs we have for small businesses, we made adjustments to those financing programs to allow more entrepreneurs to qualify to apply for those financing. But again, we'll continue to provide different supports. Again, the credit card announcement that we just made is vitally important. And maybe one of the things I will talk about that I think is important is here in Canada, we pride ourselves on the fact that we have an amazing healthcare system. Our healthcare system has gaps. And one of the things that we've supported and first into market is our coordinated assistive national health network that we've created. So over the past few years, we've created a network that helps connect healthcare providers with Canadian entrepreneurs. So across the country, our healthcare network may have a problem across the country, and we will identify that problem, but then also connect an entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur made an idea that solves that problem, and then we will help remove the barriers so that small business can grow and procure and have those ideas commercialize and turn into something. So I just wanted to share that we have a marketplace today. A lot of people are not even familiar that we have this. But if you have healthcare entrepreneurs that have great ideas, this network will break down those barriers of procurement and really help de-risk innovation and technology.
Great, and just on procurement, how is the government working with either internally within government on procurement policy, or encouraging large business to be more open to taking on that calculated level of risk that could really bring a real level of boosted innovation within their companies? How are we trying to address this issue when we hear so often from small businesses that it's so difficult to get in the door?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mentioned one already, but can't help it. That's a great way from the healthcare industry. But as I've been traveling, one of the things that small businesses constantly brings up to me is the fact that it's hard to procure or help get their name, in the door. I went to the U.S. and I'm kind of comparing best practices of what they're doing there. But one of the things I'm thinking about initiating in the future, or near future, is helping encourage procurement, even at the federal government, helping ensure that we're encouraging small businesses and supporting them, even if a percentage of procurement is drawn or leveraged through small businesses. That's going to make a huge difference altogether. So that's one thing that I'm trying to explore at the moment, and any which way that we can continue to help that. Networking through advocacy will continue to support small businesses there.
Excellent. And another issue I just wanted to touch on before we break and allow for some networking with everyone here is the issue of climate change, of reducing carbon footprints, and more importantly, not only from it's the right thing to do type of standpoint, but also it's increasingly a requirement of being eligible for those procurement opportunities within large companies and government. How are we supporting small businesses in their efforts to reduce their carbon footprints, run their operations more efficiently, whether that be energy or water, etc. How are we supporting them?
That's a great question. With Minister Champagne's ministry, he has provided many different opportunities to help small businesses, fight climate change by investing in their business to make it go greener. There's many different initiatives, and I'm happy to share a whole list of them, what we did share with the group today. And also something that I mentioned, or Trevor's mentioned in this conversation that you need more information on, please let Trevor know, and I'm happy to share it with you afterwards.
That's great. And just to close, is there anything else that you want us to know about the work you're doing and how folks in this room can get engaged?
I think open dialogue is very important. AJ is right there, he can wave, and Maddie is here as well. And you're welcome to reach out to my team. I'm very much reachable. I'm happy to schedule some time to meet with anyone here if you have any questions. But again, I just want to really thank you for your time and thank you for being here. I think this dialogue is very important.
No, thank you very much. We're very fortunate here, of course, in Mississauga to have both the provincial and the federal small business ministers in Mississauga from the same riding, and we look forward to seeing that collaboration between the two of you as well. So,
thanks, Trevor.
Thank you very much for being here today. We would like to bring up Noman Khan, and I want to get your title correct. Noman, you're Associate Vice President, External Relations with Sheridan College, to officially thank the minister.
Great. Thank you, Trevor. I feel like I needed a longer walk to warm up to speak at the podium. But I just want to start by thanking Minister Valdez. You totally deserve the title, but for us at Sheridan, you're just Rechie. You're such a fantastic connector. I just want to share with people in the room, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but I first met Minister Valdez at an MBOT event right after the pandemic when we were starting to do in-person events again. And I walked up to her, introduced myself, and I said, we'd love to have you come to Sheridan and just see what's going on campus. She agreed, and she came, and she met with, you've heard a lot about EDGE, our entrepreneurial hub. So Renee and her team put together a roundtable with some of the women entrepreneurs in Mississauga that EDGE has supported. And boy, you had to be in the room to see the kind of connection and the kind of inspiration Minister Valdez provided in that conversation. She shared her own journey that she did this morning and really took the time to hear from some of the entrepreneurs. One of them is here with us this morning as well. And there were a lot of tears in the room, a lot of emotion, but I think what you could really sense in the room was this desire, the drive. Everybody left that meeting feeling more driven than ever before to work harder and support their own businesses and the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Mississauga. So I just wanted to share that story because I think that's the kind of leader you are, that's the kind of politician you are, and I think for you to follow up then with your colleagues in caucus, MP Fonseca, MP Algabra, and all the others to actually get some federal support for EDGE late last year really speaks to when you say you're a listener, you're a connector. At Sheridan, we are proof that you do deliver as a minister, and we're very proud to have you in Ottawa as a representative. I want to just again thank MBOT for another wonderful morning of dialogue. I also want to say that I know you heard a lot about EDGE, but Renee and Noreen are here from EDGE. It's a fantastic program. If you yourself or you have family and friends who are entrepreneurs, who are looking, how do I do simple things or complicated things, do connect with us. EDGE is right here, literally 2 minutes walk away. It's a co-working space, and they work very closely with what our Pilon School of Business, the Dean of the Pilon School of Business is here as well, Mutana. Do come and talk to us. Sheridan is thriving in Mississauga because of the business community, the connections we have with you. So whether that's HR, supply chain management, cybersecurity, AI, do talk to us. We have opportunities for you to serve as advisors. We have opportunities for you to hire fresh young talent as co-op students. So talk to us about issues ideas, concerns you have. We'd love for Sheridan and Pilon School of Business to be that solution. And again, we'd love to see EDGE grow on the 1,000 jobs they've created, over 400 entrepreneurs they've supported, to keep going. And finally, I just, again, want to thank, I see Councillors Butt and Councillor Sedgwick here as well for your support to Sheridan. Sheridan exists in Mississauga because of the vision of our former legendary mayor, Hazel McCallion. Our campus is named after her. I see members of her family in the room. Peter, good to see you here again, and thank you for the family's continued support to Sheridan. Once again, thank you very much, everybody. Do connect with us. We really mean it. We're here to connect with you. And again, thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Minister Valdez. It's been a pleasure seeing all of you this morning. Thank you very much.